Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I will be teaching you this creepy Scarecrow makeup tutorial. I've already done my eyebrows before I started filming, so now I just need to prime my eyelids for eyeshadow. And I'm going to be using the Wet n Wild Come Correct Celebrity Concealer in Fair and blending that out on my eyelids with a damp beauty blender. The concealer will act as an eyelid primer, and an eyelid primer is going to keep your eyeshadow in place and prevent it from creasing. Now I'm going to be setting my eyelid primer so it won't crease, so I'm going to be using this neutral cream white shade on my eyelids from the Anastasia Beverly Hills Modern Renaissance. It is called Tempera, and I'm just going to apply this all over my eyelids to set my eyelid primer with a Wet n Wild eyeshadow brush. From the Anastasia Modern Renaissance palette, I'm going to use Golden Ochre on a MAC 224 brush, and I'm going to blend this in the crease as our transition shade. So I'm just blending this very lightly in the crease, adding some warmth to my crease, just really making sure that I do blend this out. We are going to be doing smoky eyes for the eyes in this look today, so you really want to make sure that you are blending thoroughly. So now I will be using Real Gar from the Modern Renaissance palette, and on a MAC 224 brush I'm going to blend this in my crease. I wanted this shade to be the primary shade in my crease, so I did go back into the shade a few times to build up the color, but did it in segments so I didn't grab a bunch of product at once and blended it into my crease. While I was blending out this color, I took off some of the pressure that I was applying on the brush and lightly blended it up towards my brow bone to give it more of a smoky effect. So now we're going to go over to the Urban Decay Basics 2 palette, and I'm going to use the shade Frisk, which is a cool tone gray shade, and on a MAC 224 I'm going to blend this in the lower part of my crease, not quite blending this shade over Real Gar, but I'm applying it a little bit lower towards the eyelid, lower crease area. So next I'm going to be using the Urban Decay 2 palette and using Blackout on an e.l.f. smudger brush. I'm going to begin smudging this shade on our lash line and working upwards. I feel like smudging it out and instead of just packing it on will make it a little bit easier for us blending wise, and it will just create more of a smoky effect. So I'm just smudging that out starting from my lash line going upwards. Now this is a black eyeshadow, so it can be a little bit unforgiving, so you really want to make sure that you do smudge it out and just try to be as precise as possible. But after I applied it and smudged it out over my eyelid, I started to flick it upwards lightly into the crease so it wasn't just making a straight line on my eyelid and didn't go anywhere else, because it is a smoky eye, so it's supposed to be blended and just very smoky obviously. So I'm just using tiny flicking movements to move that up into my crease. Going back in with the Modern Renaissance palette, I'm using Real Gar on a MAC 224, and I'm going to blend this in my crease to blend out any of the harsh edges that we have from applying that black eyeshadow on our eyelids. And this is also going to make the eyes a little bit more smoky and just give it that effect. So you really want to make sure that you blend out any harsh edges that you may see. Now we're going to hop back over to the Urban Decay Basics 2 palette, and we're going to use Frisk again, and I'm going to use the fluffy side of the brush that came with the Modern Renaissance palette, and I'm going to just blend this in the crease and just kind of diffusing harsh lines again and adding a little bit of some cool tones in the crease and just adding those back in. So I'm just kind of blending, and we're just doing a lot of blending right now because we want to make it as smoky as possible and make sure there are no harsh lines. I'm going to go back in with Blackout from the Urban Decay 2 palette, and I'm still using the Anastasia brush, the fluffy side of it, and I'm going to blend this into the crease. I thought that this Blackout shade needed to be brought up a little bit higher up into the crease, so I took a very small amount on this fluffy brush and blended it upwards. Now I will be taking Real Gar on the Anastasia brush, and I'm going to blend out the edges of the eyeshadow to make sure that nothing is harsh and that it's all just very gradient and soft. Now I'm going to take Tempera, and I'm going to apply this on my brow bone with a Wet n Wild eyeshadow brush. And this is going to be our brow bone highlight and also soften the edges of the eyeshadow in that area. Now for lashes, I will be curling my lashes with the Tarte 2015 Holiday Lash Curler. Since we are about to apply mascara, I wanted to curl them and try to get them at their best length as possible because they are pretty short, so I just wanted to curl them and prep them for mascara. For mascara, I'll be using the L'Oreal Telescopic Mascara in Carbon Black, and I like to use this mascara before I apply false lashes because it is a very thin mascara, so it's nothing that's very clumpy and heavy on my lashes. For lashes today, I will be using the LA Colors Dramato-Lashes in the style Delightful, and I waited for the glue to dry a few minutes after I applied them, but once those kind of got sticky, I wanted to go ahead and apply them, so I applied them with tweezers, and I was kind of frustrated with the white eyelash glue because even when it dries, it still shows up as white and doesn't dry clear or anything, so I really need to invest in a black eyelash glue, and I feel like it just ruined it, so please excuse the white eyelash glue throughout the tutorial because I do fix it later with a little bit of eyeliner. So just please be patient. I know it looks horrible. Okay, so I'm going to prime my face for foundation. I will be using the Makeup Forever Step 1 Mattifying Primer in my T-zone. If you have oily skin, this is a great, effective mattifying primer. For foundation, I will be using the Anastasia Stick Foundation in the shade Ivory. So obviously I'm just going to apply this all over my face. I haven't used this foundation in a while, so I was pretty excited to use it. Stick foundations don't quite have the same pigmentation as like a liquid foundation, and you need a little bit more product compared to a liquid foundation. So it does look like I applied a lot, but in reality I didn't really. It doesn't equal out to the same amount as if it was a liquid foundation. So I will be blending out my foundation with a damp beauty blender. I love using a beauty blender to blend out my foundation. I always use a beauty blender. It just does wonders for foundation. It blends it out. Doesn't ever leave your makeup looking streaky, which is just amazing. So it's a really reliable beauty tool, and I would recommend it. It's definitely worth the $20. And I started to have a little bit of trouble with the foundation actually blending, so I got my Beauty Blender damp with some MAC Fix Plus, and it started to work just a little bit, but it still wasn't budging. It would not blend. So I decided to add my Makeup Forever HD Foundation NY235, and I decided to just add that over this to maybe help it blend out, and it helped just a little bit, but then the nose started acting funky, the makeup started smearing. It wasn't good, so I had to take some of it off with a makeup remover, and then I applied some of the liquid foundation over it. It was just, I don't know, that Anastasia foundation did not work out for me today, but hopefully I can work with it a little bit more because I liked it the last time I wore it. So anyways, let's go on to concealer. I will be using the Wet n Wild Come Correct Celebrity Concealer in the shade Fair and applying that with a Wet n Wild concealer brush. This is my holy grail concealer. I feel like I talk about it all the time, and it's pretty much the only concealer I use. I will be blending this out with my damp beauty blender, making sure that I blend it out very well, and it's a very thick concealer, so you have to make sure that you do blend it out thoroughly. To set my concealer, I will be using my Coty Airspun Translucent Face Powder in the shade Translucent Extra Coverage, and I'm going to be setting and baking. And I just wanted to apply this, and it just keeps my concealer in place all day, so I applied a very generous amount of that with my beauty blender. So while I let that sit and bake, I'm going to be using the Anastasia Beverly Hills Contour Kit, and I'm going to be using the shade on the bottom row on the right, and using a MAC 224, I'm going to be contouring the top half of my nose. So I am just going to be blending this out and applying it literally on the sides of my nose, kind of like the sides of the bridge of my nose, and I'm going to connect that with the front of my eyebrow. I switched over to the Anastasia brush that came with the Modern Renaissance palette, and I used the fluffy side to blend out this bronzer. This is really just going to add definition to our nose and a little bit on our eyes. It'll add a little bit of contour there. So I really added a lot of product, but you want it to be dramatic, but at the same time you do want it to be blended and not too harsh. This is just going to add the contour, like I said, for our nose and a little bit for our eyes, and just add a little bit of dimension. So then I switched over to the bottom bronzer on the left, and I applied it in the same area with that Anastasia eyeshadow brush, and I just blended this out, added a little bit more, and then I went ahead and wiped away the extra translucent powder that I had sitting underneath my eyes. I'm going to go over with Golden Ochre from the Modern Renaissance palette, and using the Anastasia brush, I'm going to blend that underneath my eyes, starting from the lash line and going downwards. This added a like sick effect. It kind of made me look like I was sick and I like dead under eyes. So I just love this shade. It's a little bit like a terracotta color, but has a little bit more of a golden tone to it. So I just felt like it really gave me an effect of like I had dead eyes, like I was dead. So I thought it looked pretty cool. I love the effect that this eyeshadow gave underneath the eyes. As you can see, it gave a nice golden effect under the eyes, which made me look dead and very sick. So now I'm going to be going over back to the Anastasia Contour Kit and using the shade on the right on the bottom row, and I'm going to be contouring my under eyes, and I just kind of like winced a little bit so I could really find the area where my under eyes were, like my under eye bags, and I really contoured those out. This made me look really sick as well, and it just added the coolest effects. So I'm really just contouring the under eye areas of my eye. This really just added something that this look could not have been completed without. So I really liked how this turned out. I'm just really blending this shade out. Now I'm going to go in with Cypress Umber, and I'm still using the Anastasia brush, but I'm going to begin smoking this color out on the outer lash line and then bringing it in. This shade really completed off our eyes as well. I love the effect that this gave. It was the perfect shade, so I added a little bit much, but you really want it to be a lot, but you wanted to blend it out. And just take it a little bit of product at a time to make sure that it's not like overboard. Even though this look is in no way natural, you just want to make sure that you do blend this out and you have a really nice smoky effect. So I just really blended this out, focused it on my outer lash line, and brought it in. Next, I went in with my beauty blender and I just dabbed the edges of the eyeshadow with my beauty blender to make sure that the edges were really soft, and that even though I shaded a lot underneath my eyes, that it all faded into my foundation nicely. So I'm going to go in and contour with my Anastasia Beverly Hills Contour Kit, and I'll be using a Sephora Pro 74 contour brush, and I'm going to really contour. I'm going for a heavy contour today. I really want to define my cheekbones, so I really did use a lot of product. Even though we are going for a very heavy contour, you do want to make sure that you do blend it out. So now I'll be going with the shade on the right on the bottom row, and with a contouring and highlighting brush from the Japanese Kumidori collection, I'm just going to kind of blend out the contour and add a little bit more definition, and I'm going to go back into the center shade and the right shade, mix those two shades, and I'm going to contour the edges of my forehead and down along the temples so I can have a lot of definition and shading to my face. And then I went back in with the shade in the center. You know, I shaded my temples, really added some shading and definition to my face. I'm going to grab the center shade and also shade my jawline, give a little bit of definition there. I didn't add a lot, but just enough to get some definition to my jawline. And then also, I did go back in with my Beauty Blender and soften the edges of my contour, because even though we are going for a very dramatic contour, I wanted to have like a very blended contour as well. For lips, I will be using the NYX Cosmetics Liquid Suede Lipstick in Sandstorm, and I'm going to be applying this to my lips. Now, this shade is very natural for the kind of tones that we have going on in our eyes, so it didn't exactly look like I had a lip color on, but did give some color to my lips. So I'm going to go on with my NYC liquid liner and cover up the lash line of my false lashes, because the white glue was really showing up and really getting on my nerves, so I did cover that up. So I went ahead and did that. So for the lips, I went in with some cheap face paint that I found at Target, and I went in with an e.l.f. flat eyeliner brush, and I put this on the inner rim of my lip, and this kind of made my lips appear as if they were dead, or if I had like frostbite on my lips. It really just created a cool ombre effect. So I'm just smudging that out. Like I said, this face paint was really cheap, so I didn't see anything about not putting it on your lips, but I would definitely check on the packaging for whatever face paint that you do use, so be careful. I'm going to go in with my NYC liquid liner, and I'm going to begin drawing out the mouth. So what I did is I went in from the inner corner of my lip, and I drew a line outwards, not exactly doing like a very arched smiley face kind of line, but something that just like very slightly goes out and very slightly goes upward, and you want to make sure that they are even. I did go back to the other side because I drew the other side a little bit higher, so I went ahead and evened that out. I noticed that like half of the filming I did when I was drawing the teeth, the mirror was covering it up, but I went ahead and skipped it and went over to another clip. But as you can see, I drew very wobbly but clean lines, and I made sure that the top tooth matched with the second tooth. So you really want to make sure that the teeth do get bigger as you go outwards, and I also kind of feathered them out. I didn't quite add as much pressure to the eyeliner as I did on the teeth on the inner part of my lips, but kind of lightened the pressure that I applied. And then I went back and applied any lines and teeth that were kind of missed and that I needed to add. So I realized that the camera was not recording. So anyways, the nose is pretty simple. You just want to mark 2 lines at the end of your nose, or however you would like to do it, but I just drew a nose shape and then made one line of the nose higher than the other and just kind of made a U in the center, but I made the tall line curve over the shorter line. Sounds a little bit confusing, but if you just watch, it'll be a little bit easier to understand. So to finish off the face, of course, I just sprayed some MAC Fix Plus. Any setting spray you have will do. So that completes it for this look. I really hope you guys enjoyed. I had so much fun creating this look, and I hope you did as well. Please don't forget to subscribe. It would make my day. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram. I'm at Madison Lee Artistry, which I have spelled out below for you guys. I hope you have a fabulous day, and I will talk to you guys in my next video. Bye!